You're listening to the Creator Life That Is Beautiful podcast. I'm your host, Leticia Ringe, and this is episode number 54. Welcome everyone to the Creator Life That Is Beautiful podcast. I am your host, Leticia Ringe, and for those of you who don't know me, I am a life and business coach for people who want to make a difference in the world. I help you create a life and business that is beautiful to you. So welcome everybody. It's so wonderful to be back here with you, talking to you all today. And I am now back home in London. I've just finished my 3.5 weeks in Australia, which was such an awesome time. And I've kept you filled in on everything that was happening during that time. I had the awards evening for the Beautiful You Coaching Academy in Melbourne, which was such a fantastic evening to meet more people. And as you know, I won an award, Emerging Coach of 2018 to 19, which was such an honor. And then I had my beautiful wedding with two of our friends. It was so gorgeous in Melbourne as well. And then I got to hang out with my family for a couple of weeks in Sydney. So it was so wonderful. Thank you all for your messages while I was away. And I'm so excited to be back in London because thankfully the sun is shining. It's starting to heat up here in London, and the energy in London, in the city, and I imagine all across England and the UK during the summer is just so magnetic. Everyone is in such high spirits because of the sun. There is that seasonal affect disorder. It's a real thing, my friends. But everyone is in such a great mood as we move into summer. And so it's just beautiful to be back with that spring energy as we now transition into summer over the next few months. And so I'm feeling really good to be back. I've had some exciting epiphanies while I was away, as is always the case every single time I go away on holiday, although of course I was still working while I was away, but I did create more space in my schedule, of course, so that I could make the most to be around my beautiful family while I had that time there in Australia. So I'm really excited to begin sharing with you some of those epiphanies, and you've probably already noticed some of them. One is I now have a new gift for you all, and it is a Menstrual Magic journal. And you'll be hearing me talk about this Menstrual Magic quite a bit. And actually, today in this episode, I'm going to take you through what Menstrual Magic is. We're actually, though, talking about the number one system that I use for manifesting anything in my life and business. And this is what I call menstrual magic. And it's a term that I've now come up with to show you this connection with manifestation, which I think is something that when we think of the menstrual cycle, we don't make this connection. We don't think about manifestation and the menstrual cycle pretty much ever. But really, this is what it is. It is a system for manifestation. So today we're going to dive into this exciting topic. I know that you all love to talk about manifestation. So I'm going to deal with this episode in 3 ways. The first is we'll talk a little bit about manifestation and what it is, so we can all come up to speed on that. And then we'll dive into what menstrual magic is and why it's the bomb. And then thirdly, how you can start working with it right away. So let's just dive in, my friends. So manifestation is such a cool thing, but really what it means is bringing something into reality, into like physical form, into existence. So it's about creation. And usually when we talk about manifestation, we hear this in, spiritual circles. We hear it in terms of the law of attraction. There's a lot of talk about manifestation going on as more and more people become more interested in spirituality and, raising our consciousness and becoming aware of how our minds work. And as a part of this process, we've all been taught, or we've been learning a lot about our mind's ability to manifest through our thoughts. And actually, it's not even just about our thoughts, it's really through our feelings. So this is really interesting. Part of this philosophy is that when we align our thoughts and the way that we want to feel with the experiences that we want to create in our life, then this is what attracts those experiences into our life. But it's actually much more simple than that. What is really happening, and I love the way Jess Lively talks about manifestation, and as some of you will know who are in the Jess Lively community, I love her podcast, and I am a member of her course Flow with Intention, which is all about manifestation, but looking at it through a scientific lens and looking at it through quantum physics, and it's so fascinating. So let me just give you a brief rundown here. Basically, in any moment around us, we have billions of pieces of information. But our brain can actually only process a very small percentage of those billions of bits of information. So it's something in the order of thousands as compared to the billions of bits of information that are around us. So this is what we perceive. And so the brain is picking up on whatever it's being conditioned to look for. So out of these billions of bits of information, it's going to notice the bits of information that it is aligned with. And how does our mind become aligned with those certain bits of information? It's through our thoughts and the way that we feel. So when we are concentrating on, I want this experience to happen, I really want this experience to happen, I'm really, really wanting this. And then in our perspective in any one moment, there are billions of bits of information. What our brain will look for are examples or opportunities to support that thought. Now, the issue with manifestation that most people run into problems with is that we might be thinking these thoughts, but we're actually, as we think these thoughts, we're creating emotions that aren't aligned with us having these experiences in our life. So we might be thinking, I really, really want X. I really, really want X. Whatever it is, you fill in the blanks. Maybe it's a partner. Maybe it's to leave a job. Maybe it's to find the dream job. Maybe it's to start your business. Maybe it's to earn more money, find more clients. Whatever it is, there's something that you really, really want. And so you think this and you think this thought and you think, well, why aren't these experiences coming into my life? And the issue here is that our emotional state is actually more important than our thoughts, because there's an incoherence here, right? We might be thinking, I really, really want this. But if we're emotionally feeling and vibing in a negative space, and I say negative, if you could see me, I'm doing air quotes because no emotions are neither of them are negative or positive ever. They just are. They're all really useful pieces of information for us that we can then respond to. But basically, we will have these emotions that make us feel bad. So it could be anger, sadness, frustration, depression, anything, any of these emotions that typically you'd say, oh, you know what, I really don't enjoy it when I'm feeling this way. So we have these experiences, and at the same time we're thinking these thoughts. And so that shows to us that actually we don't believe that we are in alignment with what we're calling in. So those negative emotions actually block us from calling in the experiences that we supposedly want. What we do call in is usually the opposite of what we want, and it's it confirms the way that we feel, which is telling us, oh, we don't believe that we can actually have these experiences in our life. And so that is what you'll see in reality. That's what you'll manifest. Now, this is because our brains are actually hardwired to keep us protected. So when we want to do or try new things, they're going to step us out of our comfort zone. They're going to bring us a sense of uncertainty. We're going to grow. We're going to expand. We're going to be seen. To our primitive brain, the brain is saying, hey, that is scary. Why don't we just maintain the status quo? Everything's okay here. Let's just keep you where you are. I know you're safe where you are right now. Let's keep you right here. And so, even though these experiences are great for our growth and development, and our heart wants us to expand, and we know if we stop and think about it and separate ourselves from this automatic primitive part of our brain that's just responding, we can decide, hey, using our prefrontal cortex, hey, actually, I want to have this experience, and I know I'm going to go through some pain and suffering while I expand into it. But that's okay, because I know that the payoff is going to be so worth that little bit of discomfort. So we can still make these decisions. However, the primitive part of our brain is still going to be firing, saying, alert, 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 this is dangerous. This is so, so, so dangerous. And then this creates these negative emotions, in that we start to experience. Plus, we've also got our subconscious, these belief systems that we've downloaded usually throughout our childhood that have been, deeply, we've just been reinforcing most of our lives. And we also pick these up from our family and from the collective. We've also got this in the back of our mind as well, telling us, hey, that's actually not possible for you. It's actually really hard to do whatever it is that you want. These are all the reasons why you can't do that. Now, our brains are simply doing this to help us. They're saying, hey, I'm just giving you all the evidence. Like, look at all the people who have had problems doing that before. And, I'm just trying to look out for you. I'm just trying to be the protective, father for you here. I'm really looking out for you. You've got to be careful. Okay, so that's great. The brain is just doing its job. But meanwhile, this is attracting experiences that confirm what we're thinking and feeling. So when we start working with manifestation, we shift that consciously, and this is why we need to be aware to start actually manifesting the experiences we really want in our life. We have to stop and ask ourselves and decide, using the prefrontal cortex of our brain, what do I actually want here? Do I want this experience? What's the payoff? Why do I want it? Why is a very great question to ask. And then what you're looking at is, okay, how can I make sure I start to emote positively about this experience? Now, another added complication is that when we really, 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 really want something, we associate actually the lack of it. We concentrate on the lack of it in our life. So we think, I really, really want it because I don't have this. And so that's where our thoughts are at, and our emotional state is usually at. It's like, hey, I really, really want that because I don't have it. And because I don't have it, I am emoting negatively about that. So then what we do is confirm in our reality, we manifest experiences into our life. We bring experiences into our life to confirm that position. So when we want to shift that pattern, we want to start up-leveling our beliefs so that we have our beliefs also aligned with what we want to experience. We then start to look at our emotions and start to readjust the way that we're responding to our beliefs and to our thoughts. And we also look at the thoughts that we're having on a day-to-day basis and start to change those and create better thoughts that are going to serve us in aligning with the experiences that we actually want. So you might be saying, hey, I really want to make X amount of money in my business or my career. Maybe I want a pay rise. Maybe I want a $10,000 pay rise. And so you'd start writing down some thoughts and actually looking into what thoughts would support me in creating that. So for sure, things like, I have a great relationship with money. Money flows into my life with ease. It's easy for me to make money. Making another $10,000 in my life is a positive experience for me. It's something that I've seen such and such do, and these people are great expanders for me. So we start to create thoughts that will support us and that it is an inevitable occurrence. And we then let it go, right? We trust that the universe will provide and we let it go. And that's a really key step of manifestation, because then you'd also let the lack go, right? We want to come from a place of abundance. So we start to believe and align that we already have this experience in our life now. So you start to act as if, oh, hey, I've already got the $10,000 in my life, because then you start to know, well, what would my life be like if I had $10,000? How would I be emoting? What sort of emotions would I have through that experience? What sort of thoughts would I be thinking? What sort of beliefs would I have? And so you can start consciously using your awareness now to create those thoughts and beliefs and emotions. Now, I'm not saying that this is a super easy process, because we have our brain responding very efficiently, and we have all of these automatic thoughts and feelings that we've developed over many years, and we've also got our subconscious beliefs happening there in the background. But it absolutely is possible. And as we become more aware of how we're thinking, believing, and feeling, we will start to bring more experiences into our life that we want anyway, because naturally we start to say, wow, look at some of the things that I'm thinking and believing. I get to now decide whether I want to continue thinking and believing in that way. So our brains are operating efficiently, just doing their jobs. But what it means is when we start to shift our thoughts, shift our feelings, shift our beliefs so that they're aligned with the experiences that we want, then when opportunities that meet those experiences come into our life, our brains will be hardwired, geared, pre-programmed, on alert to notice those opportunities. So really it's all about attention and what we pay attention to. So when we make sure that our thoughts are aligned with what we want, that our feelings are aligned with what we want as well, then we can then notice those opportunities when they present themselves. Okay, and then of course we then have to take action on to take up those opportunities so that we can then bring them and experience them in our life. Okay, so there is your crash course on manifestation. And I don't know if just hearing me explain all of these different steps, if that's created any sense of maybe effort or tension or conflict or dis-ease as I've explained how to manifest through the mind. Because what tends to happen is we then start to want to perfect through the mind our manifestations. So we become, rather than hustling through doing lots and lots of things, what we then do is start to hustle, but with the mind. We start to become obsessed with what we're thinking and how we can manipulate our thoughts and our feelings and our beliefs so that we can get what we want. And so what this does is then also stops us from manifesting, because we stop noticing the experiences that are presented to us that are a little bit left field, that are outside the box, that we really need to open and expand our minds to, so that when they flow into our life, we notice them and we trust that what the universe provides is an experience that's going to support us, and we allow ourselves to go along the journey of life, down the beautiful stream, and receiving all of the beautiful gifts of life. We don't do that because we're sitting there thinking, no, I want this particular experience and it's got to happen in this way. And so it becomes this effort, but using the mind. So this has been my experience. I love manifestation, and I've worked for a long time using manifestation, but there is an element of effort involved. And as I've gone along my own journey and I've become more and more familiar with masculine and feminine energy, and in particular working with my feminine energy and valuing it again, I've increasingly become aware of the importance of our feminine energy and of things like being in that state of surrender, being in that state of allowing and receiving. And so for me, this system of manifestation was becoming more and more misaligned, and I couldn't explain why, but I was finding there was too much hustle and effort in it for me. And so I wasn't doing all of the usual work I was doing to call in my manifestations. And so this led me to seeing that I had actually a system for manifestation already right at my fingertips that I was already working with. And this is where I bring in our menstrual magic. So the human body is designed to create. We're all designed to create. We come from creation, that's the source that we come from, and we are designed to create, right? In whatever part we play in that creation. We're all here to create. Our lives are a creation. And this is what manifestation is. It's all about creation. So it makes sense then that we could look to the body to help guide us in our creations. The body naturally is going through phases of masculine and feminine energy through our hormones. Both the male hormonal system and the female hormonal system is taking you through different fluctuations in your hormones, which bring you into periods where you're going to be more in your masculine and more in your feminine, unless you're fighting it, which most of us are. So even better than this though, is that we can also work with something that's designed for longer term manifestations. And this is where I ask you to look at the female hormonal cycle. So the female hormonal cycle is set up, one of its purposes is to allow a woman to be able to conceive and hold a baby and birth a baby during that huge 9-month experience. Now, if you ask me, that's one of the biggest creations that we can have in our life. It takes a whole lot of energy and a perfect system to be able to allow the body to be in a position to do that. I mean, it's incredible. It's so magical. And so what allows the body to be able to do that is the menstrual cycle, which has been perfectly designed by Mother Nature herself to allow a woman to create something as huge as another life. And what sets our bodies up for that creation is the menstrual cycle, which is roughly a 28-day cycle. It varies for all women. Some women won't experience one. Some women will experience really long ones. Some will experience menstrual cycles with lots of period pain and heavy flows. Some women will have extremely light flow. Like, we're all different. It all happens and shows up differently for us. But on average, the average menstrual cycle lasts for 28 days. It's also connected with the moon. There are a lot of similarities between the moon phases and the menstrual cycle, and a lot of women have felt an affinity with the moon cycle. Anyway, it is the menstrual cycle that is set up to allow our bodies to be able to fall pregnant, right? To create life. And through the course of a menstrual cycle, our hormones are fluctuating, meaning that we go through different phases, and these are the 4 phases of our cycle. So we have menstruation, when we bleed or have our period. We have our follicular phase, which is also known as our inner spring. We have our ovulatory phase, which is known as our inner summer, and then our luteal phase, which is known as our inner autumn. Menstruation is our inner winter. So it's been associated with the 4 different seasons because the way that you feel in the outer seasons is very similar to the way we feel through our inner seasons, happening every single month. Now, this cycle is also set up so that we naturally go through a different stage of creativity because of where our hormones are at. I mean, it's just so incredibly magical. Now, if you'd like to know more, I have a resource for you about the different phases of creativity and how that's associated with the menstrual cycle. I had a chat with Claire Baker, who is an amazing menstrual cycle coach, on this very podcast. So go back to her episode. I'll link it in the show notes for this episode and have a listen to that. It is absolutely so inspiring. Trust me, you'll walk away feeling like, OMG, now I get it. So she's a great resource as well for anything menstrual cycle related. So the menstrual cycle takes you through different phases of creativity. During your inner winter, this is a time when your hormones are at their lowest and you feel lowest energy-wise. You want to rest and relax, which as a consequence of that, as nature herself intended, you then are in a great space to be connected with your intuition, dreaming, receiving, and really just anchoring into your intentions. So this is when the cycle begins. And this is when we want to start aligning with what we want. And then we move into our inner spring. And so our energy is starting to build. We're getting a kick of hormones. And so we want to get back out there in the world. We want to start doing things. We tend to be very much in our masculine energy during this time, and we want to do lots of focused work. So this is a great time for starting to take action on those ideas, on those intentions that you spoke about in your inner winter, or that you dreamed up in your inner winter. And then our energy continues to heighten. It reaches its peak right in the middle of the cycle when we ovulate during our inner summer. And during this time, our hormones are also making us incredibly magnetic. Our emotional intelligence is high. We're great at communicating. And so we want to be around people. We want to be out and about, outside, like it's summer, sharing our ideas, speaking, collaborating. And so this is the time that we start bringing other people involved into our creations. We get out and we speak, we get feedback, we discuss, we get inspired by being around other people. And then we bring all of that back into our creations to help refine them as we enter our luteal or inner autumn phase. Now, this inner autumn phase, there's a lot happening with our hormones, which is why typically during this phase, this is when women will experience PMS. And not that that's something that you have to experience, and I believe you don't. And I'm a big follower of Elisa Vitti and her work in A Woman's Code, which provides you with a system for working with the 4 different phases using food and exercise to manage or eliminate altogether any symptoms of PMS. So during this phase, because our hormones are fluctuating quite a lot, this is why we feel emotionally like we're very up and down, and our emotions are heightened. So this is a great time to have a look at your projects and start to refine and edit them and slow down in your life. Just like in inner autumn, we still have energy, we still want to be outside, but we're starting to slow down and prepare for our winter. And this is what is happening with your hormones, or if you're experiencing a menstrual cycle, that's what happens with the hormones. And so it prepares you for the close of that cycle. And so we want to start completing and bringing our projects as well to a sense of completion. Now, we can use this system. It is not just designed to help us create life. It is designed to help us create anything. But what it's designed for is long-term sustainable creation. We're able to create with a much bigger impact. We're able to create bigger projects using this system, which is the menstrual cycle. Now, this is why I believe that anybody can tap into this system. Because if we're operating, for instance, on the male hormonal cycle, which is a 24-hour cycle, they have their greatest bump of testosterone right in the morning, and then that starts to decline throughout the day, which is why they then shift more into their feminine throughout the course of the day. So that is great for small projects, right? If we want to operate like that every single day. However, we want for our fulfillment to be producing amazing big experiences in our life that require a lot of energy and commitment, and just like a baby, right? That requires a lot of energy and commitment. And so we're going to get a lot of fulfillment out of these bigger projects that we want to manifest and bring to life. And so this is why I believe we want to look at the menstrual cycle, because our body is naturally set up to bring to life huge projects. Imagine in your own life if you could bring to life throughout 1 year 12 big projects. You had a month for each project to bring something to life, and using this menstrual cycle system, which naturally is taking you through periods of more masculine energy and periods of more feminine energy, so that you are not just outputting lots of energy and action, but also having the space to receive, to listen to your emotions, to dream, to get your intentions aligned with, you and your higher self. It's super important in all of our creations. And when we create like this, the outcome is way more effective, way more powerful, and we're able to keep creating for much longer. This is how women are operating every single month if they're experiencing a menstrual cycle. So if you're not experiencing a menstrual cycle, what we do is we use the moon as our guide. We can use the moon because the moon mirrors the menstrual cycle in these phases. The new moon is when typically we associate with our inner winter, because during your inner winter, we're cold and we want to be at home, we want to be resting and relaxing. Well, the new moon is also considered the start of the moon cycle. And because it's when to our eye we can't see the moon and its light, it was taken back in the day as a time when we would be more connected to ourselves and our, intuition or our subconscious. It was a time to turn inwards and be guided by your inner light or flame. And then we use the full moon as the midpoint in the cycle, which is our inner summer, our ovulation. The moon is shining brightest and we are out there, out and about in the world. So we can use the moon cycle to help us know when to start, when to stop, where the phases are, and they align beautifully if we aren't experiencing a menstrual cycle. And so if I believe that because we all want to create longer term projects, we want to use a system that is sustainable, we want to be tapping in with our masculine and feminine energy because we know it's necessary for manifestation, we want to use something that we know works, why not use the menstrual cycle, which is clearly designed to create anything and including life. So why couldn't we all use that as a structure for our projects in our life and business? There's nothing stopping us from doing that. I don't know why we need to experience a menstrual cycle to be able to use that system. We can use the same structure as the menstrual cycle, whether we're menstruating or not. And for women, when we aren't menstruating, it's a great way to still feel in tune with those hormonal changes, and it can be actually a really beautiful healing experience that for some people actually helps them to bring on their period again. So this, my friends, is the system that I have been using in my life, in my business, before I was even aware that this was my system for manifestation. And also, obviously, since I've been aware, it is my favorite system to use, and it is the number one system for manifestation because you will start creating with ease. This is how we're designed. This is how women's bodies have been designed. So it's very natural. It's how nature intended for, a huge amount of the population. So why can't we use this no matter who we are? Okay, so what I want you to now do to start working with this system, to start trying it in your own life, is to start to think about a project that you want to bring to life, something you'd love to give yourself a whole month to create, to bring to life. Maybe it's a new website, maybe it's a new product, maybe it's some other new offering like a podcast, maybe it's a new job, maybe it's a relationship. It can be anything in your life. And then what I want you to do is go ahead and try my new Menstrual Magic journal, which takes you through how to use this system to bring to life a project in your life. And so what I've done is broken it down into a very simple way of looking at the 4 different phases. So focusing on one particular creative superpower to use for each season or phase of the cycle. And this is what I'm calling your menstrual magic. So to download your copy, all you need to do is go to leticiaringe.com/menstrual magic journal. And you can start working with this number one system of mine for manifesting anything in your life. This is the system that not only I am using, but also my clients, and it is so magical. So if you love working with manifestation, I know that you'll love working with this system. And one of my missions here is to lift the stigma around periods. I mean, why on earth are we still feeling uncomfortable to talk about menstruating, to talk about the menstrual cycle? It is our bodies as women. It is how we're naturally designed. So why are we ashamed to talk about it? And I think this is the case for all women, regardless of whether you're experiencing a menstrual cycle or not. Why can't we talk about these differences more openly? I feel like we will get a lot of collective healing by doing that. And I don't believe that there is any reason why we cannot talk about the menstrual cycle in normal conversation. So I'm really excited to be talking more and more about this topic and to be really focusing on it in my work and in what I offer to you in this community. So I'd love to know, let me know what you think of this system. Tag me over on the gram at Leticia Ringe and let me know whether you're in. Find the post for this podcast and comment and let me know whether you're in, or tag me in your stories. Also, let me know any questions you have on the menstrual cycle, because I would love to answer those questions for you. And if I don't know them, to bring on other people who do know those answers and interview them so that we can all be working with this system together. And finally, I want to let you know that if you are growing a business, or if you've just started a business, or you've had your business for a while, but you're in business and you want to grow, I would love for you to also join me in my Menstrual Magic mini course, which is happening next week on the 23rd and 24th of April. It's happening live. I'm taking you through my 6 steps for business growth and working with your menstrual magic in your business over those 2 days. There will also be replays of this, but if you join live, you're going to have access to coaching. There's also a bunch of giveaway prizes that I will have up for grabs. So please come and join me and join this conversation. Let's talk about using this powerful, powerful system together in our businesses. So to sign up and register for that training, all you need to do is go to leticiaringe.com/grow-my-biz. And in the show notes for this episode, which is at leticiaringe.com/menstrual magic, I will have links to both the journal and the training there so that you can get access to those super easily. All right, everybody, I would love to hear from you. I cannot wait to hear from you. Have a beautiful Easter weekend. I am heading to the southwest of England to take a nice road trip over to Cornwall and go exploring for the weekend with Lou. I'm so excited to go around there. We're also going to head to Glastonbury to the Chalice Well, so I'm super, super, super stoked, thrilled to be doing that. And I'd love to hear what you are all up to, so let me know. I love hearing from you all. And if you haven't yet rated or reviewed the podcast, I'd also invite you to please share with me how you're loving the podcast. I also love to see your messages there. All right, everybody, I will be back very soon with another episode to help you create a life and business that is beautiful to you. Bye. Thank you so much for listening to the Create a Life That Is Beautiful podcast. If you feel called, I would love it if you could please take a minute to rate and review this podcast on iTunes. This helps other people like you find it. And I also invite you to take a moment to share this episode with a friend you know needs to hear it.